Hey guys, hope you're well. My name is Rob. Welcome to Kinetic Rugby League. In this video, I'll be giving you my 2024 Pacific Championships Finals predictions. So I got 1 out of 2 last week. I was incorrect with the New Zealand versus Tonga game. I had New Zealand to win. Great win by Tonga in the end there. But I'm going to go through the team list that have been announced for this week. I'll talk about the games a little bit and give my prediction at the end of each one. So let's crack on with the first game of this week. Starting with Australia, in the backs they have Dylan Edwards, Xavier Coates, Hamiso Tabuai-Fidel, Tom Trbojevic, Zach Lomax, Tom Dearden and Mitchell Moses. In the forwards is Patrick Carrigan, Harry Grant, Lindsay Collins, Angus Crichton, Hudson Young and Isaiah Yeo. On the bench is Matt Burton, Mitch Barnett, Ruben Cotter and Lindsay Smith. And in the reserves is Ben Hunt, Bradman Best, Rhys Robson and 21 is currently unnamed. Moving on to Tonga and starting in the backs they have Lehi Opuate, Daniel Tupou, Moses Suli, Paul Alamotti, Sione Katoa, Tuila Lehea and Isaiah Katoa. In the forwards is Adam Fanua-Blake, Saliva Havili, Felice Kafusi, Hamal Olakuatu, Eliezer Katoa and Jason Taumalolo. On the bench is Sonny Luke, Satili Tupanua, Taniela Paseka and Siwa Wong. And in the reserves is Tolu Kula, Kian Kalamatongi, Isaiah Ayongi and Kulakefu Finifeuaki. Starting with Australia, they've not made many changes to their lineup so far during this tournament. But there's no Cameron Murray, he's replaced by Hudson Young on the right edge, and Lindsay Smith takes the 17 spot on the bench. Now, one thing to consider first off with Australia is that if they can slow down the progress of this forward pack, they take away Tonga's biggest threat. Now, it's going to be incredibly difficult against Fanua-Blake, Kafusi, Olakuatu, Eliezer Katoa and Jason Taumalolo. It's incredibly difficult to do. But if they can slow down their progress, in the tackle, get those players turned onto their backs, slow down the ruck speed, be able to get your defensive line set, it takes away their biggest threat. Because if you are forcing Tonga to have to put together structured attacking plays against a set defensive line of Australia, it's going to be incredibly difficult to open them up. But if you can, as Tonga, if you can get those quick play the balls, make sure that markers aren't square, eat up an easy 10, 12, 15 metres from the play the ball for Havili and Luke, for example, you can really put Australia on the back foot, and then with players out of position, you can find some gaps through the middle or into the edges with players out of position. So the most important thing for Australia is just making sure you slow down the progress through the middle. One other thing I wanted to note with Australia is something that feels like is putting them above everyone else so far. And it doesn't feel like they've been putting together these special performances or these overwhelmingly creative plays in attack or defensively. But what it does feel like is that each individual is playing to their highest possible level at the moment, or higher than all others in each position, and it feels like they're doing the basics a lot better than everyone else. And I feel like the basics at the international level are so much more important than at club level. They're important everywhere, just to be clear, they're important everywhere, but I feel like the basics are even more important on the international stage. Let's say, for example, you get one of the basics wrong, which is dropping the ball inside your own half, because you want to be completing sets at a high rate. If you turn over the ball in your own half, there's a very good chance that by the end of that set, you're going to be defending on your own try line. And at club level, to a degree, it's okay, because you've had a pre-season, you go through meetings, you've had multiple weeks and months, maybe towards the back end of the season at this point, where you've been in this position what feels like a million times before. You understand the players around you, you understand what you need to do, you understand what they need to do, and you know exactly how you're going to defend this next set. Whereas on the international stage, yes, they might be, world-class players all around you, but this is a new setup. You don't understand everybody yet. There's only so much or so many reps that you can have with each other before you fully understand how you want to defend a specific scenario. Now, individually, what Australia is doing really well is they're making correct decisions, who to jam into, when to jam in, but there's still the possibility that if Tonga's given enough great field position inside the 20 or the 10, that at some point they're going to find a weakness in this line that they maybe wouldn't find at club level because you haven't got the reps defensively. So you don't want to be turning the ball over in your own half, which Australia, I feel more than anyone else, is doing a great job at. Statistically, I could be wrong on that, but it feels like they're doing those sort of basics a lot better than everyone else. And the final thing for Australia on that point specifically is if you turn over the ball on your own 30 and you're going to be defending your own try line, you take Harry Grant, for example, who's pretty sure has done 80 minutes in both games. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he has. he could get through 50, 55, 60 tackles in this game. I wouldn't be surprised if he broke 60 tackles. But the one tackle that you do not want Harry Grant to have to make is a goal line stop from a metre out in front of Fanua Blake or Jason Taumalolo. That's the one tackle you do not want to have to see him make. But it's going to happen more so if you turn over the ball in your own half. But what Australia's doing really well is the keeping possession, completing sets, kicking to the corners, good kick chases, pinning teams back, being well disciplined to not give them easy penalties, to let them off scot-free in a fresh set of 6 inside their own half. When they spread the ball, it's with good pace and accurate passes, so players don't have to break stride or slow down just to receive the ball. So they're doing the basics to a very high level. And over the course of 80 minutes, that allows them to beat strong teams. So as long as they can continue to do the basics well and slow down the ruck speed, it will certainly help them to keep Tonga to 0 once again. Moving on to Tonga, they were brilliant through the middle. They were absolutely excellent through the middle against New Zealand. Now, there's a lot of times the Kiwis made mistakes, gifted them really good field position, and some penalties, made errors inside their own half, but Tonga earned a hell of a lot of field position. Carries from Fanua Blake, Taumalolo, Olakuatu as well, players off the bench. They got them some great meters through the middle and quick play the balls. If they can replicate that this week, it'll be huge in this game against the Aussies. Another thing that I really liked from Tonga was their kick chase. There were some decent kicks into the corners, but the kick chase, not just from the side of the field where the kick was placed, but from everybody. There's a lot of times that Isako, Warbrick or Kinney would receive the ball, maybe slightly towards a corner, and they'd want to run laterally, but everybody was there. There was a really strong defensive wall of Tonga that had already pushed well up the field to make sure that they couldn't just run laterally, switch the ball to the other side and start making easy meters. The kick chases from Tonga were great. They need to replicate that as well this week to keep Australia pinned back inside their own half. That's going to be hugely important. If they can slow down the ruck speed of Australia, that will also play huge dividends over the course of 80 minutes. I think this week they need to shift the ball even quicker and even more cleanly. You've got to. It was good against New Zealand, but it's got to be quicker. It's got to be cleaner. If you want to break open this defensive line, I think most things need to be perfect. It was a great start against New Zealand. You've just got to do a lot of it again. But if you can turn it up to a slightly higher level, it will go a long way. But to conclude this one, I think individually, right now, everyone in Australia is playing at just such a high level. All the little things are adding up. And I think when they start spreading the ball and when they have to defend in high-pressure situations, I think Australia just have the personnel to be able to deal with whatever they need to at a given time. So as much as I think that Tonga will be able to put up a much better fight this time round than they did in round one, I think over the course of 80 minutes, just the small details will add up for Australia and it will allow them to get the job done at the end of it. So I'm going to go with Australia 26, Tonga 18. Moving on to the Kiwis versus the Kumuls, starting with the team list of New Zealand. In the backs they have Keanu Kinney, Jermaine Isako, Matthew Timoko, Pete Heku, Will Warbrick, Charles Nicol-Klokstad and Sean Johnson. In the forwards is James Fisher-Harris, Phoenix Crosland, Joseph Tarpany, Isaiah Papali'i, Scott Sorensen and Naufahu White. On the bench is Cody Nikarima, Griffin Neem, Marata Niokore and Leo Thompson. And in the reserves is Erin Clark, Jordan Rickey, Casey McLean and Trent Tolau. Finally, for the team list of PNG, in the backs they have Nenny McDonald, Elijah Altinga, Robert Mathias, Roderick Tai, Robert Darby, Cal Labert and Lachlan Lamb. In the forwards is Valentine Richard, Liam Horn, Jacob Alikweinke, Reece Martin, Jeremiah Simbikin and Jack DeBellin. On the bench is Judah Rimbu, Kota Bandi, Sylvester Namo and Ila Alu. And in the reserves is Dan Russell, Maria, Sunny Weibo and Benji Cott. Starting with New Zealand, I'm not very happy with the Kiwis. I'm not happy at all. And I'm going to have to backtrack on some stuff. Contextually, it will make sense. I'm not just going to completely go against things I've said previously, but contextually, it will make sense. So you're going to have to bear with me on this one a little bit. I said last week that I liked this specific lineup, because it's unchanged, this specific lineup from New Zealand against Tonga. You've got your big minute guys in the forwards, in Fisher, Harris and Tarpany, who can hopefully contain the forwards of Tonga, slow down the progress a little bit. Then you bring on your big hitters in Neem, Thompson, Niokore, and then do a lot more damage as the game goes on. Well, the Kiwis, they lost the battle in the middle basically straight away. Like, basically immediately. And it took them a long time to recover and actually start taking the fight to Tonga properly through the middle. So, the only positive compared to last week going into this game is that PNG in the forwards is not equivalent to Tonga. I think in terms of experience, fitness, overall quality and size, New Zealand should be okay in the middles this week. So the fact that it's unchanged isn't a big deal because I don't think they need to worry about the forward threat as much for PNG as they did against Tonga. So there's one thing. The second thing, I said that I liked the fact that the backs were unchanged. That was last week. The reason why I said that was because you played 80 minutes against the Aussies and you were just locked into one side. It was just Johnson, Papali'i, Hiku and Osako, with a little bit of Keanu Kinney out the back as well. They had nothing down the left. So to me, I was thinking, okay, well, you've had time training. You've now had 80 minutes under your belt. You now had another week's training. You know, maybe they can figure some things out. They can figure some things out on the left-hand side with Nickel Klokstad, Sorensen, Timoko and Warbrick to be as creative, but no. Just no. It was still, all of their best stuff was down the right. So to have the same backs made sense. You need time to build rapport going into a big game. You don't want to shake things up too much. But my biggest issue, which was for game one, is I'm going to ask you some questions now, guys, and I want you to answer them, and I feel like we should all come to the same answers. Question 1. Is Chance Nickel-Klokstad a number 6? The answer is no. Hopefully we all said that. Is Chance Nickel-Klokstad a great player? The answer is yes. I'd like to think we all said yes to that. Does New Zealand actually have a number 6 in their squad? The answer is yes. Do you want to take a wild guess who that player is? The answer is Cody Nikorima. Hopefully we all answered the exact same questions correctly there. They have been using Chance Nickel-Klokstad, who, as we admit, is a great player, but he's not a number 6. But they have Cody Nikorima, who, oh yeah, is a number 6, who they've given 15 seconds of game time to in the last 2 games. What are you doing leaving him stuck on the bench? Last week it made sense to try and build rapport and hopefully come out and do something a lot better down the left-hand side. Did that happen? No. So at this point, stop wasting your talented number 6, your experienced, talented, actual number 6 on the bench. Because, God forbid, you still look garbage down the left and PNG figure out how to shut you down on the right, you've got nothing. You have absolutely nothing to return fire with, except from probably through the middles. So best of luck with that. I hope it looks better for Chance Nickel-Klokstad, but if you don't get anything from that left-hand side, and Nikorima could have helped you out this entire time, well, shame on you, basically, and you deserve to drop down to the Pacific Bowl. But as long as they keep using Keanu Kinney well down the right, I think they'll make a lot of meters, especially with Papali'i and Hiku, using their size and their fending as well, their experience. They'll eat up the meters down that right edge, and they'll use Keanu Kinney well again. Hopefully he has an even better game than last week. But there's no way New Zealand would be as bad as they were in the first half last week. As long as they're not that bad, they'll be fine. They'll eat up meters through the middle, eat up meters down the right, but yeah, I've got no sympathy for them when you've had a number 6 just sat there. It really bothers me. It really, really bothers me. I think they'll probably be okay this week, but you deserve to be in this position for just a lot of the boring stuff and the horrible stuff you've been doing, just turning over the ball in your own half, unable to complete sets, giving away stupid penalties when you got teams pinned back. Like, yeah, they've done this to themselves, and I've got no sympathy for them at all. So taking a look at PNG, who I acknowledge will be major underdogs in this game. Trust me, I get it. However, number one, I like PNG, and I want them to be successful. And number two, I love an underdog. So what I'm going to do for the next few minutes is I'm going to yap away talking about the, I admit, hypothetical scenarios in which PNG could actually win this game. So strap in, folks. Here's how PNG is going to win this one. First of all, PNG need to be stronger through the middle. They must be. They've let way too many meters go through the middle against Fiji, and especially in the first half against Cook Islands. So defensively, they have got to be stronger. It's a must. If they can at least contain Fisher, Harris, Tarpany and White a little bit, it's a good start. They might struggle against Griffin Neem, Murati Niokore and Leo Thompson, but if they can at least slow down the first wave of guys through the middle, it will go a long way to helping them over the course of 80 minutes. So, point number one, they have got to be stronger through the middle. It was not good enough against Fiji, not good enough in the first half against Cook Islands. They've got to be stronger. The next thing, I think they're going to find it very difficult naturally to slow down the progress that Kinney, Papali'i and Hiku will make over on the right-hand side. But, number one, if you can make sure that they stay contained on the left, so don't allow that left-hand side to look good with Nickel Klokstad, Sorensen, Timoko and Warbrick, you force them to keep going to the right, then if you can figure out what they're trying to do, and you can actually find ways to shut that down, there's not much else they can do other than keep going through the middle. And again, if you've already been able to shut that down, and you keep containing them on one side, forcing them to have to go to the right, and you're even shutting that down, you're taking a lot of what they're capable of away from the Kiwis. So there's another thing. The third thing, on the attacking side, is we've seen it quite a bit for Australia and for Tonga. If you can get a one-on-one against Timoko, you can find a lot of success down that right edge. Because we've seen it a few times, either huge meters or tries, and the highlights show Timoko in a one-on-one, stretching with everything he's got for his life, trying to grab onto the centre. So if you can work things out down the right, and this is one other issue with PNG for me, is I think they look a little bit more sure of themselves spreading the ball structurally down the left. It's still not perfect, but they look a little bit more sure. If with Labour, Simbikin, Ty, and Derby, they figure some things out down the right, and you get Ty in a one-on-one versus Timoko, I've seen Ty plenty of times for Warrington, with the way that they use him down the right. If they can use him the same way that they've used Trebojevic for Australia, and they used Alamotti for Tonga against Timoko, there's a lot of meters and possibly a few tries to be had there if you get Roderick Ty in a lot of one-on-ones with Matthew Timoko. There's a bit of success to be had there. And as a Wire fan, I trust Roderick Ty. I trust him. So get him those one-on-ones. There's a bit of success there, okay? Just saying. But yeah, the final thing is a little bit like with Tonga as well against Australia. It's a little bit similar in an underdog versus a stronger team overall. The way that they spread the ball has got to be quick and it's got to be precise, because you will find some holes here and there in this defensive line of New Zealand, but if you're not spreading the ball accurately and effectively, it's going to make it a lot easier for their defensive line to shut you down. Now, I like that Liam Horn's starting, a lot more experience in the number 9 role. Hopefully, he can eat up some meters through the middle. That would be great. And then Judah Rimbu, hopefully if they manage to tire out the forward pack of New Zealand, Judah Rimbu with his speed is going to be really important later on in the game. But the final thing for PNG, I like Labour. I trust Roderick Ty with his experience. Same with Nenny McDonald. Same with Reece Martin. Reliable players, really reliable players. But the one guy that I'm looking at, it shouldn't have to come down to one guy, but I feel like it might. And you're all going to know who I'm going to say here, so we can say it together. How fun. The one guy that can elevate PNG to the next level, his name is Lachlan Lamb. It shouldn't have to be on him, but I feel it might be on him. When it comes to organisation, when it comes to an overall plan, the kicking game, the attacking structures, the run game from him, Labour will certainly take on a lot of that responsibility. I think Nenny McDonald will look very effective as well. But a lot of the best stuff that they're going to do is going to go through Lachlan Lamb. And if he's having an all-time game, that will really allow PNG into this. So that is me kind of indulging in the idea of PNG as a massive underdog coming out with a victory. But to kind of wrap it all up together, I acknowledge that individually, man for man, New Zealand have the stronger squad here. I get it. And at least even if they don't figure out what they want to do down the left, I feel they might find it a little bit easier to eat up the metres down the left-hand side. And I think they'll still look effective down the right with Kinney, with Papali'i, with Hiku. And through the middle, I think they'll have a lot more success this week than they did against Tonga. If PNG can find ways in all those areas to shut New Zealand down, great. But I don't think that's going to happen for one, and I don't think New Zealand will be nearly as bad as they were, especially in the first half against Tonga, when it comes to discipline and completion rates. So, with all that being said, over the course of 80 minutes, in all these little areas, I think New Zealand will be strong enough. And just based on, like, one major thing I've not really talked about is experience. In such a high-pressure situation, in such a big game, there's so much more experience that leans towards New Zealand. So I think over the course of 80 minutes, it just may be way too difficult for PNG to compete. But I really, really hope that they can put up a hell of a fight in this one. If they manage to win, honestly, I'll be so happy. But I'm going to go with New Zealand 36, Papua New Guinea 14. So, guys, I just want to say thank you very, very much for your support over these last couple of weeks. As it relates to the Pacific Championships and England versus Samoa as well, it's been greatly appreciated. And with people stopping by on the live streams as well, it's meant a great deal. Seeing so many new people joining in conversations has been amazing. I'll be streaming both games, the final and the playoff relegation game as well, back to back at the weekend. If you've got your own predictions, please do let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like. It does help to get the video out there to more people. Subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with more Rugby League content that's hopefully coming in the off-season as well. And if you do want to become a member, you can click the join button just below this video and support me for as little as, I think it's around $2 Australian from the conversion rate. And there's been a few new people joining as members as well, which has been incredible to see. I really appreciate it. So, yeah, again, if you've got your own predictions, please do let me know. One more video to come next week. But yeah, that is going to be it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.